Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to put a 2-inch spacer lift kit on a Subaru Wagon. This will work for the GL series, Loyales, and all those different models. We've already got one side done here. You can see the strut mount is recessed down inside there, and I've got spacers around here. So I wanted to make sure the job was going to go well before I videoed it. Nobody's done a video on how to do this before, so I figured I might as well. Probably going to lower the quality on the video since it's going to be kind of long, but I'll try to edit out all the boring parts. Let me show you what the lift kit looks like. Alright, so for the front lift kit, you got 3 pieces here. We have 2 spacers that are cut by 2 at a 2-inch square tubing. Cut them 1 inch thick, and they're at a 15-degree offset. See that? And then I have one piece that's 2 by 2 by 1 with offset holes here, also at a 15-degree angle. So these are going to go in between the strut mount and the strut hoop here. But we've got to take the whole entire assembly apart just to do this job, because if you're not doing a full lift kit, if you're just doing the spacers, it really is a pain to get to fit everything in there. Really, you should do the full lift kit. We're going to take the top bolts out last. What we want to do is undo the brake line here. I just cut this off because I'm going to be lifting it even higher later. I need more room, but I just made a cut here and I can bend this bracket out of the way. Otherwise you got to undo your brake line and bleed your system, and that's a pain in the butt. So anyway, find some way to get this line out of here. There's 2 bolts that hold the strut in place. One over here. This is your alignment bolt, and then you have your cross bolt right here that actually squeezes the strut. Both of those are a size 14. Okay, so these 2 bolts here for the strut, 17 millimeter for the tie rod here, 12 millimeter for this cross bolt for the sway bar, 14 millimeter for the cross bolt that holds the swing arm in place right here, and then 17 millimeters that holds the what is this called, track bar? Yeah, whatever this rod is right here. And then you have to also remove these 2 bolts. So those 2 right there. The top is a 3/4, hold it with a wrench, and the bottom, sometimes you can get lucky, it'll come off with an impact. You'll probably need a breaker bar, and that's a 17. So all those, plus you're going to need to remove the bracket here for the e-brake. Both of those are 8 or 5/16. So go ahead and let's take all those out. Alright, when you're getting this track bar out, what you want to do is loosen these 2 bolts here, and then loosen this bolt here. And get all these bolts loose, but don't take any of them out until you've broken them all loose, because if you take these 2 out, you won't be able to get this one out. If you take this one out, those will be a pain also. So anyway, get them all loose before you take them out. Alright, I've got the track bar bolts out, or whatever that rod thing is called. Got the cotter pin out here. Go ahead and get this 17 millimeter off. And I'm going to smack the tie rod itself with a hammer. A little penetrating fluid probably would have been a good idea. Now I've beat my rack to death. So we got that out. Now let's go ahead and take the sway bar bushing bracket thingy out. I think that's a 12. So I'm going to get that e-brake bracket out of the way. Let me see if I can show that to you. And that is 2 8mm. The reason why we're going to remove this is because the axle is going to need to go down as far as possible, and also it's just one more thing we can get out of the way. I had one of these Subarus a long time ago. It was actually my second car. It was the '87 model, and it was had about 9 inches of lift. It was massive. I wish I knew more about vehicles and working on stuff back then, because I would have taken pictures of what kind of lift kit it had on it. Okay, next up is going to be this cross bolt right here. There we go. So this bar is out now. Set it to the side. And last, we'll finish off these 2 bolts that I broke loose a minute ago. It's best to keep those tight during, or at least in place, maybe not tight, but it's best to keep them in place during the whole procedure of taking everything else apart, because it'll keep it into alignment and help you, it'll give you something that you can torque on. Okay. There you go. Okay, so once that bit is out there, we can go ahead and take these 3 bolts out. Extend my tripod real quick. See if it'll reach up. Okay, so I'm going to take those bolts out and you'll see the shock fall down. Okay, there it is. Go ahead and assemble this thing with the spacers on top. So you're going to have one spacer like this, one spacer like this, if I can get it over there. There we go, 2 like that, and then 1 like this. So the whole point is you want to bring this section right here, you want to bring it back towards the engine. So by having this offset at 15 degrees, we're going to move the strut back inside so our camber is not too horrible since we're pushing the shock down. So go ahead and use your original hardware to get these things in place. And this part is kind of tricky because if you get it super tight without putting it in, you don't know if you aligned everything right. But tightening it once you get it in is a huge pain in the butt unless you have special tools. You can use a 12mm crow's foot wrench, or you can make your own wrench by heating up one you already have and bending it, putting a bend in it. What you want to do is, it's nice to have a tool like a distributor distributor wrench, like the curved wrench that you use to loosen a distributor retainer. That's the ideal tool for this. But okay, I've got one of my bolts started here. See if we can get this thing in place. Okay, got one in. Another one. Once I get it up in here, I'll take these off and put washers under them. And time for the third one. This one's going to be a pain. Cut off a little piece of this rubber here. See if that'll give me enough clearance. Crap. This one you may want to put in first. This may be the one that you want to start with. Because the other two you can put in pretty easily, but this one's going to be a pain. There we go. Not too bad. Just enough. Look at that. Give them a few turns just to kind of pull them up here a little bit. And you want to get these things all the way to the top right now. And by that I mean pull the bolt all the way up, because that'll give you the most amount of room to work so we can tighten our 12mm nuts there on the bottom. Because those are going to be a pain. It's going to be pretty kind of time consuming. You're just going to have to do a tiny little turn at a time. That's why it's important, get it as tight as you can, finger tight. That way you have the least amount of work to do when you've got a wrench in there, because it's going to take a while. Okay, once you've got those tight, you can start in with your 12mm, and this part is going to be a pain in the butt. So, see inside there? We've got to tighten that bottom bolt there. So, like I said, crow's foot would be nice. I'm just going to get it done with a regular 12mm wrench. So, here we go. This is the easiest one. One thing that'll really help you out a lot, cut these little nubbies off. There's 3 nubbies on here. Cut those off because that's right where the bolt is and your wrench needs to pass over it like that, and it's really a huge pain. Okay, I've got all those bolts super duper tight. Spacers all the way around. You can see that that is recessed now. We could start to put the rest back together. Make sure you got all your top bolts tight, and the bottom is a little bit challenging. It's a lot of forcing things in. You'll have to use a jack, but let me go ahead and get started, show you how it goes. Okay. This is what you want to do first. Get this sucker back in place. Make sure you got a screwdriver in there so you can twist the strut around as you need. Line this hole here, put this little guy in. There we go. Whew, that's one hard part down. Take a screwdriver out. I'm going to go ahead and loosen this bottom bracket for the sway bar because it's going to become an issue here in a little bit. So I'm going to loosen it, let it flop out of the way. There we go. So once that part's done, next thing that you want to do is put this bar back in place. Going to start by putting this end into its hole. Put the nut on it, but don't tighten it, and then we're going to try to set these up. This part's going to be hard. It's going to take a little bit of muscle. Kind of losing our daylight here. Whew. So you just need to push down on the bolts while you wiggle the whole assembly around until it snaps into place. Then you can start the bolts here on the bottom, but don't tighten them yet. I'm going to wait till we get this cross bolted in here before we tighten anything up. it's going to be a pain also. This part is just a lot of kind of muscling everything around, so until it gets aligned again. This is really a pain. Just trying to get this second bolt here in enough. It is proving to be pretty difficult. I got this one down. I'm trying to get this one down into place. Okay, next up is this bolt right here. Just gonna have to finagle this thing all around until we get it lined up and we can pull it out. Really had to push this thing forward really hard. I feel like the other side's gonna be pretty difficult also. Let me see which way it needs to go. And it's almost there. Just needs to kind of pivot that way. There we go. Okay, so we've got all of our main bolts back in, except for this pinch bolt right here, which I'm about to do. And the last thing is to put the tie rod back in place, but we're gonna have to use a jack for that. Okay, for the last part, which is the tie rod, you're gonna need to jack up the whole assembly here. Okay, and once you've got it up, then you can get your tie rod into place. Otherwise, this is too low and this can't go down low enough to get in the hole. Bam, easy money.